The streets are buzzing. New York Knicks, Boston Celtics playoff basketball to talk with Bill Daughtry, the legend. You know who he is, friend of the program. Great to see you as always, Bill. How you
Always,
doing?
always a pleasure, CT. I'm always honored to be here. Honored that people actually want to hear what I got to say.
More than one, people. More than one. Um, Always, yeah. You're probably our most requested guest. I'm going to be completely honest on air. That just speaks to how respected, how beloved you are, and also people just want to hear your opinions.
It's just always nice to be thought of. I mean, as I go on in this thing called life, it's nice that people remember you. It's nice that people want to hear from you. So, again, honored to be here.
Yeah, and we're excited. Obviously, it's a fun time. Game three, we're going to talk about that. Look ahead to game four. We'll discuss your thoughts on games one and two, and also interact with the chat. We've got some people coming through the building as well. Join the conversation. Smash that like button. We see you guys. Flizzy Flex, Tendrell, Tay in the building. I haven't really heard Bill's thoughts much, and we haven't spoken a lot this season. Kind of wanted to speak to you a lot more, but the regular season was so crazy, Bill. It was just like it was one of the most roller coaster seasons.
Yeah, not to start off on a maudlin note. The regular season, I lost a lot of friends and colleagues during this regular season. Brendan Brown, great friend, good friend. The last conversation we had was opening night of the regular season. And somebody that people really don't know, uh, my good friend, Mr. Robinson, who did stats for the Knicks for a million years. He passed away in September. God bless you, Harry. We remember you. I used to call him Wildcat because he had a 1964 Buick Wildcat convertible that he called Patches, but I called him Wildcat. We lost him in December. A couple of months ago, we heard about Al Troutwig. Dick Barnett just left a couple of weeks ago. I still do events for the Dick Barnett Foundation here in the New York City metropolitan area. We've got one coming up on Long Island in June, and then his annual golf fundraiser comes up in August. So I'm still very much connected with the work of and the legacy of Dr. Dick Barnett. And those are some great Hall of Famers we lost. George Kalinsky passed away. He was a photographer at Madison Square Garden. You can't see it in this picture. Well, I tell you what, there's a picture over my left shoulder that is a plaque, and there's a picture of me on that plaque. George Kalinsky took that picture of me, and there's another one on my wall that's off camera with the great Magic Johnson. We were interviewing him courtside at Madison Square Garden one night. So all of those wonderful people, they are now gone, and it's kind of put a big shadow over my basketball season. Al Troutwig, who I worked with for 10 years at Madison Square Garden, he just passed away recently. So, yeah, it's been a difficult season from that standpoint, but the basketball has been entertaining. The basketball has been pretty much what we thought it would be, and to this point, pretty much what we thought it would be.
Yeah, it's been a season of definitely moving parts as well. The big move, the season, adjusting. Taking 20 games, 30 games before you know it, we're post All Star. But yeah, really appreciate you spending that time to speak on some of those that we've lost throughout the season and respectfully honor their legacy. And obviously there'll be those before them as well. And but Nick's family continues to stick together. This is a series now that's been testing the Knicks. Series one. Um, Little recap. What were your thoughts on the Detroit series, which led us into this Boston series?
Um, Everything has been pretty much as I thought it would be. Detroit was a very young and feisty team. Their key players were young. They had some very key veterans, though, that made things even tougher for the New York Knicks. There was a close call when Thibodeau couldn't get the time called in Game 5 and couldn't get his best two players, Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, back on the floor, and everybody was holding his feet to the fire on that one. But they went and won Game 6 in Detroit, and they moved right along. And with Boston, I mean, who would have thought that the Celtics, historically, what were the Boston Celtics in their ballyhoo, their championship years, their halcyon years? They were a team that would run you out of the building on the fast break. Run, 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 run. They'd run from the time they got on the bus until they ran back to the bus after the game. Well, now, 21st century basketball, Celtics are a three-point shooting team. And in their first two games, they shot 25%, 25 for 100 from three. And the Knicks played enough defense and had a great set of stops at the end, both times by Miles Bridges. And all year long, we gave up too much for this guy. They paid too much. Oh, the draft picks. Well, I tell you what, those two games made it all worth it right there. Mikal Bridges was everything you needed. And then you throw in, he scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. Those are all the points he scored in the entire game of Game 2. So Mikal Bridges showed you he is every bit of what you needed him to be at playoff time. And you come to Game 3 yesterday at Madison Square Garden, 3:30 start. I don't care about that. I don't like it, but I really, it doesn't affect anything. They had a full day of rest. It was a little abnormal from the travel standpoint and getting to the arena. Basketball players, all pro athletes, are creatures of habit. And in the NBA, a 3:30 game is far from the norm. It's just like back in the old days in Atlanta, where you had that early Sunday afternoon game. And the Hawks won a whole lot of those because the visiting team was out somewhere where they shouldn't have been the night before, and they get in like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they got to go and run to the gym. But all that being said, Boston got their 3-point feet back under them. They shot the daylights out of the ball. I mean, Tatum comes out of the gate, hits 4 of his first 5 from 3. So that's when you knew it was going to be that kind of night for them. You wanted the score to be a little closer. You always hear about the great fans at Madison Square Garden, and they are great. They'll make the building shake, rattle, and roll. They only do that if the Knicks are in the game, and at no point were they ever really in this game. At one point, they were down by 31 points. So now the ultimate test is going to come in Game 4. Now this is where the rubber really meets the road. The Celtics were in that 0-3 hole a couple of years ago, thought they were going to survive, coming back to tie the series against Miami 3-3, but they couldn't win Game 7. So that 0-3 thing is still very much in play. But please note, all of these teams that had to win, Cleveland, today, OKC, Boston, they were all facing insurmountable series deficits. What the heck? We can throw Minnesota in there too. Teams are starting to do what you expect them to do, what they're supposed to do if they are really serious about winning a championship. And now you're in that spot with the New York Knicks. Is it going to be a tie series? Are they going to be up 3-1 going back to Boston? I get this sneaky feeling that, and it's not going to be about the Celtics shooting 25% from 3. I think tomorrow's Game 4 at Madison Square Garden is going to be an out and out, gotta have it war, because nobody is in a position of comfort right now. The Knicks want to get that commanding 2-game lead back in this series. Boston wants to get back home court, and they want to square this series up so they can continue on their march to what they hope is their back-to-back championship, while Knicks fans are looking for their first title since 1973.
Greatly summed up, man. I feel like fork in the road is exactly what Game 4 is going to be. Yeah, Boston shot well. There was the pressure I felt. The Knicks haven't performed great, Bill, all playoffs, but they've performed even below that at MSG, which is disappointing for the fans in the building. Obviously, disappointing for the fan base worldwide. still something that I can't put my finger on. But then when you look around the league, it's a trend around the entire league
Yeah.
that home teams are struggling or road teams feeling more comfortable. Which one of the two do you feel like it's more of, you know?
I think with 21st century athletes, I mean, and this is something that goes back to the New York Islanders when they were winning championships in the NHL. The Islanders would always start the season on the road, bonding, camaraderie, you know. But it seems that now that is more the norm in professional sports. Teams like to go on the road. I mean, how many times have we seen it in the past few years in championship games? Pick your sport, where the visiting team wins, where they have the trophy celebration on the other team's field or on the other team's court. It is happening more and more, and I think athletes have become more comfortable with being on the road, and they know how to use being on the road to be a more effective, more cohesive, more coherent team. I don't care what the sport is. Now, that's not to say that home court advantage or home ice advantage or home field advantage no longer matters. It does, but it only matters if it's a close game. If you're in the game, and your fan base, the people in the stadium, they can make some noise. They might affect the outcome of a play or two, and it might be a key play in the game. We see it all the time in football, where people can, the quarterback can't hear, you can't communicate effectively. You either have to call a timeout or whatever the case may be. But please note now, especially in the NFL, the teams have become a lot more accomplished when it comes to the silent count. They excel at the silent count. They kind of look forward to the silent count now. So I mean, it's just another part of the evolution of the professional game on all levels. If it's a close game, yeah, the home crowd can affect a play or two, and sometimes that play might actually affect the outcome of the game. But for the most part, these guys are battle tested. They know what it's like. These places aren't strange. They know what to expect when they go to these places. Come on, man. We get all the noise we want. Lift the roof off of Madison Square Garden. You're playing the defending NBA champions, and they still have that same team intact from last year. Matter of fact, it's one of the criticisms of the Celtics. They didn't make any changes from last year. I guarantee you there'll be changes after this season, win, lose, or whatever. But again, these guys are battle tested. They're tried and true. You're not going to intimidate them. You might make enough noise that maybe they can't hear a play call or a whistle or a switch or something like that. But intimidation? Oh, no, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. I think my biggest disappointment, the other day was the game wasn't close, down the stretch. That's all you owed the fans, and get it down the stretch, get it close. And the Knicks are starting slow. I'll be interested to know your thought in terms of what do you like about the offense? What do you don't like? And why do you feel like the Knicks are starting slow in these games? I'm personally not a big fan of the offense, and it's been underutilized throughout the season. But obviously, you got to give the defense credit. Boston's defense and their personnel are elite. But I feel like the Knicks could do a lot more to just get some buckets early. I mean, we saw the Denver Nuggets start with 8 points in
Mm-hmm.
the first quarter tonight. I think the
Mm-hmm.
Knicks had 13 points with like
Correct.
a minute left.
Yeah. Yeah. The fast start, and here's what's interesting. It's like they don't go to Jalen Brunson until it's late in the game. How come we don't see more two-man game with Towns and Brunson early on? And in the games in this series where Karl Anthony Towns has been most effective, he's played like a big man. In game, I think he took one shot from three-point range, 21 and 14. That's what it's going to take to beat this Celtic team. Why are we switching everything defensively? I mean, I come from a time where bigs played bigs, man. And if there was a mismatch, between the big guy and the little guy. It wasn't 20 feet from the basket. It was with the little guy driving down the paint. And the game, again, it's the evolution of the game. Everybody's a three-point shooter, it's positionless basketball. But Bill Russell, to me, said it best long time ago. He says the team that has the most high percentage shots wins the game. And yeah, I get it. 3 is more than 2, but those 2s, they do add up. And as Boston showed you, they're a different team if the 3 ball is not fall for them. And fortunately for them, they're very proficient at shooting it. But I mean, look, with this series, and you want to talk about offensively, Boston has the best guard tandem defensively in the entire NBA, bar none, full stop. No duo is better than Drew Holiday and Derek White. No duo. They're big enough, they're quick enough, they're strong enough. Drew Holiday defends 3s and 4s. And it's really not a mismatch if he finds himself, if either one of them find themselves against a 5. The 5 is just bigger, but that doesn't mean they're more skilled. And if you don't get to your spot on the floor as a 5, as ridiculous as that sounds, against a guard, I mean, what is your spot? And ready to dunk on a little man if there's a mouse in the house. But the game isn't so much played that way anymore. And with those 2 at the top of your defense, they take away most of what any team wants to do on any given night in any given arena. So, I mean,
And that's why I want the Knicks to play a bit faster, Bill, because respectfully, I've watched Indiana twice, over the last 2 seasons. They had success against the Knicks last season. They got it lucky, obviously. They had a simpler run with injuries to the other teams, but they get into their sets a lot quicker. If the teams are scoring on you, you need to get the ball in bounds and get it up the court quick. Skip pass. The Knicks have some athletic dudes. Hart. I know Johnson is the one that I'm hearing likes to play a lot slower and likes to be on the ball, and I get that. But
yep.
That's great for crunch time. 5 minutes left, go to work.
When the game slows down, absolutely.
Early in the game, everyone should be fresh. Everyone should be going, should be getting out, should be running. And I think maybe the Knicks lack some other creation abilities. Maybe dual guard lineups need to be in effect. Hart's lack of spacing, I think, is hurting the Knicks. Also, Cat, underutilizing Cat on the perimeter. We know he can go to work down low, and he's been, giving them some headaches in game 1 and game 2 on the block. We didn't see that in game 3. We didn't really see Jason Tatum on Cat down low and really going to work. And by the way, he's not getting a lot of foul calls.
No.
So I kind of know, creature of habit, they're kind of probably going away from that a little bit.
Again, when you get close to the basket, that's when you're going to get your free throws, because teams are going to go the extra mile and get a little bit more physical and create dumb fouls and create situations for you where you're going to be able to get some cheap points, some free points, some easy offense. Again, I really believe in my heart of hearts, when the Celtics came out, particularly Tatum, and starts knocking down threes like their free throws, I think they sagged a little bit. And in that moment of sag, that's when Boston said, got these suckers tonight. Let's light them up. I mean, it's the small things like that. Take the heart out of them right away. Let them know, okay, we ain't shooting 25% tonight. What you got? And as it turns out, I mean, just look at the numbers. During the regular season, when the Boston Celtics beat the Knicks 4 times, it was by an average of 15 points a game. And going into this series, the whole mantra was just make it a game going into the fourth quarter. If you can do that, you might be able to win 1 or 2 games in this series. First game, I think they were down by 9 after 3 quarters. In the second game, they were down 13 after 3 quarters. It's not single digits as tight as you'd like it to be. It's not a 6-point game, but 13, that's doable in the NBA. We've seen 24-point leads disappear in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, they achieved those goals, and they achieved those goals by cashing in on Boston miscues. And they won by a total of 3 points in overtime and 1 point, both punctuated by great plays, steals by Mikal Bridges at the end of the game on Boston's last possession. 2 straight nights, the defending world champions did not get up the last shot of the game at home. Knicks took advantage and they won. Well, none of that was in play yesterday. Knicks weren't even close. They didn't even sniff the Celtics. And you saw it was more like the regular season as opposed to their last meeting of the regular season, where it comes down to Jason Tatum knocking down a jumper at the Garden. And I mean, everybody in the building and on TV screens around the planet knew that Jason Tatum was going to take that shot. Look, OG Anunoby, his offense is a plus. And this year, I want to say really for the first time in his career, his team actually looked to him to provide offense in certain situations, many situations, and he delivered. I'm still not as comfortable, confident, secure with OG Anunoby having the ball in his hands late in the fourth quarter in a big game. I'm sorry, I'm just not that guy. I'm more comfortable with Bridges having the ball in his hands
Yeah,
because he has a shot that you can rely on. He came
depends
to
who's guarding.
exactly, but he came to the Knicks as the best player in the league, 1 or 3. That was his strength. Even Deuce McBride, and I call him left side McBride because that's where he does his damage. Check it out. Watch those threes from the right side of the court. They don't go like they do on the left side. Left side McBride. And again, he's not a guy, I don't want to see the ball in his hands in a big spot. And Tom Thibodeau, to his credit, has developed the offensive defensive substitution with both Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride for Brunson and Cat. I'd like to see Cat and Mitchell on the floor a little bit more, but I understand why you can't do it because hack a Mitch. And he obliges by shooting like 30%, man, at the free throw line. And when it matters most, although someone pointed out the other day, Tom Thibodeau kind of takes advantage of that late in games, like in the third quarter. He uses that, and Boston will. You saw it a lot in Game 3, a little bit in Game 2. You saw it a little bit in Game 1, but in Game 2, it's like as soon as Mitchell Robinson stepped on the court, Boston be up by 10, 11 points, and they'd foul him. But then what happens? They get over the limit. Now the Knicks are shooting free throws, and Mitchell Robinson ain't in the game. So, I mean, there's strategy involved. There's a lot of strategy, and it's an interesting chess match between the two head coaches in this game.
Yeah, there's Game 3 is the one I really want to look into because we know what happened in Game 1 and 2. The Knicks did their job on the road. They were in the game. They did enough. Yeah, Boston bricked a lot, but the Knicks played great defense, and they're capable of doing that. We need to get back to that. Game 3 was a big letdown, and Mario in the chat talk about physicality. There was one play where Brunson didn't tie up Tatum. He was late getting back. I think he turned it over. Tatum leaked out, and he could have wrapped him up and gave him an and one.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things you can't be doing that. You can't be giving that up. But I agree with you, Bill, in terms of I feel like there's a few games within the game. The first quarter is the first game. You stood up when you said Boston want to come out. They want to put up a few threes, see if they start falling. If they start falling, the second game begins where anything can happen and they need to adjust. If Boston aren't starting well, then our offense better be starting well because we better be getting the rebound. We better be getting down the court and getting into some offense. And I think that's where the Knicks offense has thrived.
I think that the day of the Knicks coming back from 20-point deficits in this series is over. Don't don't find yourself in a 20-point hole anymore.
Yep. They're taking us too seriously now.
Yeah.
I think the first two games they didn't take us as seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a bit of arrogance in Boston's game. And again, it was like we're gonna shoot threes no matter what. And at this point in the season, it's about adjustments because everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows what everybody's going to do. My goodness, this is not including preseason. Tomorrow will be the 8th time the Knicks and Celtics have played each other. So there's no secrets here. And that's what makes these playoffs. I don't care what series you pick. That's what makes these playoffs so interesting now. Because again, it's no secrets. Golden State has to get creative now because they don't have Steph Curry for another few days. I don't know. I don't think Minnesota's going to let them get to game 6. After last night, they had a golden opportunity last night and could not get it done. I don't think there's going to be game 6 in this series. And I'd love to see Steph Curry play for another title or in another conference final. I'd love to see it. Last time Boston was in a conference final, who'd they play? Well, I mean, before last year and the year before that, Golden State. They had a shot at winning the NBA title, but Steph Curry and company took it away from them. So I'd like to see Steph get in another final, but I'm not sure it's going to happen now.
You summed it up. Yeah, it's styles make fights. The styles between Boston and the Knicks. I feel whoever plays better defense is going to win. The Knicks have issues offensively, but they can't even stay in the game if they can't defend.
That's why I like, and this is an oxymoron. I like the Celtics of old. Not exactly. I never liked the Celtics. Although I did watch that great documentary and have a newfound respect for them and what they do. I don't know if you saw Celtic City on. If you haven't, it's a 10-part series. Chronicles the history of the Boston Celtics, basically. And you'll come away with a whole new respect for this team. I still detest them. I could still never root for them. I want the Knicks to truck them every opportunity they get. Yeah, I see this is a laughing Celtic, man. But
it get Paul Pierce. I know is a dude that you despise.
Yeah, it's top of the list. he's in the documentary, and
he had to walk to the studio because he lost a bet.
Yeah, without shoes on.
Oh, that party skipped out on. I heard that he had sneakers on.
Okay. How the puppies doing, Paul? But still in all, I would love it if things were playing the old Celtics because, okay, 3-ball, there's still diversity to your offense because there's many ways you can get a 3-ball off. But the Celtics of old get the rebound, release it, and just run them out of the building. That's what they used to do. That's what they did so well. It was like Mariano Rivera. You knew it was coming, but it wasn't a damn thing you could do about it because they were just that good at it. And so a team like that, I'd love to see the Knicks play them. But this bunch here, this 21st century stuff, shooting from 3-point range 60 times a game, 50 times a game, 40 times a game. Those are all numbers the Celtics have hit this year.
Well, you got to guard it.
Yeah.
People will take this NBA game, basketball, any way they want. You have to stop them from doing that. And I think the Knicks can guard threes. Should. Why did they trade for OG, Bridges? Bring in guys like Hart. I mean, they should be able to switch. Stay up on the perimeter, and I think Karl Anthony Towns was the main guy that lost the assignment yesterday. And I feel like just starting on game 4 now, Bill, like I feel like it's going to be probably the most even game. It's going to be, okay, the Knicks need a reaction now. Maybe Boston shoot well, maybe they don't. But how do you see it playing out?
Boston is a great team. Boston is better than everybody else with a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. If his health allows him to play 25, 30 minutes, I'm not sure it will. I'm not sure it does. I don't think he's hit 25 minutes in a game yet in this series. But if his health allows him to play 25, 30 minutes in a game, look out. It's because he's the guy that sets them apart. He's the guy that makes Mitchell Robinson moot. Mitchell, as we all know, is worthless when he's 20 feet from the basket. Well, that's what Porzingis forces you to do. So, I mean, right now, with Porzingis in the state that he's in, and I'm not saying he's a difference maker, but he makes that team exponentially better than they already are with the players that they have. If
Yeah,
he gets going, look out.
he doesn't look completely right. He might get better as each game goes, but I wouldn't hold my breath that he's going to be at 90%. I think maybe he'll be able to give them 20 minutes again. But he was more impactful game 3 than he
Yes.
was game 1 and 2. The Knicks probably don't win if Kristaps is able to give them something more. And here's something for you, Bill. Sam Hauser is now moved, upgraded to questionable. He could add anher shooting
Another
punch off
good
their
three-point
bench.
shooter, absolutely. And they've been weathering the storm without him. When you have the sixth man of the year, though, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference about Sam Hauser. But still in all, and Luke Cornett, he's another, wild card. He comes in and gets stuff done. He gets stuff done. The Celtics are an impressive, a formidable, a championship team. And of course, the odds makers were talking about they were going to sweep the Knicks. People were talking about if the Knicks win 2 games against them, they should have a parade. Well, unfortunately, now that the Knicks have won 2 games against them, you get greedy. You want more. I mean, if Boston wins the next 3 games and sends the Knicks into the summer, the Knicks have done something that nobody has done against the Boston Celtics in 2 years, and that's win 2 games in a series. You go back and check. Since that loss to Miami, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1.
Last year they got a smooth ride.
Again, the Knicks have done something spectacular already, but there's a championship drought that exists in New York City since 1973. I am fortunate enough, blessed enough that I've seen the Knicks win 2 championships and lose a third, actually. Because to this day, I despise the Los Angeles Lakers because the Knicks had the NBA record with 18 consecutive wins. That was a 69-70 season when they won Game 18 playing the Cincinnati Royals in Cleveland, Ohio, where they scored 5 points in the last 16 seconds or something like that. I can't remember. It was a black and white game. I remember Bob Wolf did the game. Well, the Lakers would go on to smash that by winning 33 in a row. And then, oh, by the way, they smashed the Knicks in 5 games in the championship series that year. So I've been fortunate enough to see the Knicks play in, 5 championship series. The Lakers, when they won. The Lakers when they lost. The Lakers when they won. Houston when they lost, and San Antonio when they lost. Don't forget that one. That's 5. I've seen the Knicks play in 5, and I've seen them win 2 of the 5. But folks who can make that boast, those numbers are fast dwindling as we open this up. Those were 4 guys right there who had seen what I had seen, maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah. One thing, you can't have complete control where the shots go down, but you can control the controllables, as Kat actually said heading into game 3. And you could look at the data, the numbers, analytics. They tell you a lot of things. But what you just said before, Bill, about this is the 8th time that these two teams are going to play each other this season. It basically throws numbers and all that out the window. Sometimes it just comes down to this,
Yes.
Heart. The Knicks showed it. I'm confident, actually, if it goes back to game 5, 2-2, I'm confident the Knicks will have a chance to win at the Timu Garden again.
Oh,
And then they'll have a chance to maybe close it out
yeah.
in 6.
You
But
know,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was listening to you.
Even if, worst case scenario, they lose tomorrow, they lose game 5, they would still have another chance to force a game 7 at Madison Square Garden. So I'm doing the math and I'm like, can we get one more out of the next 3, which forces a game 7? And of all people, Bill, game 7s, anything can
Oh,
happen.
let's roll with the
Pressure.
dice.
What
Excuse me.
happens if Knicks shots go down? Pressure, the TD Garden crowd starts to groan and ooh and
Hey,
ah and
hey, make a misstep, twist an ankle, sprain a finger, have a hard landing. There's a whole lot of stuff that can happen. Whole lot of stuff. It could happen to either team. You know, so I mean, it's a crapshoot. But, and I'm not saying this because I'm down on the Knicks. Let's be perfectly upfront about that. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised in New York. So I have love, worked for the team for 10 years, more like 15, 20 years, actually, when you throw in the radio years I was with them. Been on their plane, eating their food. So it's not like I am anti-Nick anything. Let's be perfectly clear about that. But the realist in me keeps going back to 4 regular season games, 3 blowout losses, and a close loss at Madison Square Garden. That's the team you have to beat. Excuse me. Because that's the team that you're playing now. That's the team where you went into their building, beat them twice, you poked the bear. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. But that's what this time of the year is all about, messing with the bull. The Knicks have done that. Can they get another 2 wins out of this? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I'll be the first to tell you. I'm not saying that they can't win the series. They can. But let's just say I'm not expecting that to happen because they're playing the champions. And they're playing the champions in good health. They beat them in good health. They beat them with a full roster. That was one of the big headlines coming into the series. Everybody in Boston is healthy. And then Porzingis comes up with his respiratory issues again. Sam Hauser, as you mentioned. Okay? But still, the main guys, the guys that they were most concerned about, Brown with the knee, Tatum with the wrist, you had the hamstring with Holiday. Those were real concerns. And when those 3 guys suited up for game 1, it's like, here we go. So I don't expect it. I would embrace it. I would love to see it. But I think the champions are going to prevail in this series when all is said and done.
I predicted Celtics in 6. I certainly didn't see it going this way with the Knicks winning the first 2, which basically opened another door. It created a brand new, scenario where things can happen. There's a pathway for both teams to win this series.
Okay.
You could definitely make the case there's a clearer pathway for the Boston Celtics, I think, to win the series based on what we've seen. But we all know in sports, Bill, things can, the people element gets in the way.
Yeah,
You
wait a
know,
minute. Think about what you just said. The Knicks are up in the series. The Knicks have home court in this series. And you just said it's
well,
and I agree with you. I
you
agree with
can't
you wholeheartedly.
you can't ignore the fact that the Knicks have. I've got some numbers for you. The Knicks have led for just 12 minutes out of the 149 minutes in this series.
Mm-hmm.
19% of the series, the Knicks ahead in terms of possession. 19%. This is the first time in 79 seasons the Knicks have lost 3 straight playoff games at MSG.
Mm-hmm.
So this might sound crazy, but I think the Knicks' best chance to win this series is getting some
In Boston.
wins on the road.
In Boston. Well, like,
And I'm
when they came
and look
home,
at the Detroit.
they
Look
came
at the
home with
Detroit series.
they came home with a 4-game winning streak on the road. They won 4 games on the road, 4 in a row on the road. And the 2 comebacks from 20 points down on the road. It's the first time that's happened since 1998, I believe the number is. So I mean, some strange things have already happened. So that doesn't close the door for more strange things coming up. As Joshua said, Knicks are unpredictable. They are. They are. But it's more about the unpredictability to me of the Boston Celtics, who are
Yeah,
clearly playing for something.
yeah, but the Knicks are predictably unpredictable. As in, I can predict that they'll perform on the road.
Yes.
Jalen Brunson has said it since last season on his podcast. He said, dating back to that Philly series, when they were talking about the Villanova, connections and feeling like they could close, Boston, Philly out in Philly. And it's carried over to this season. And something's telling me that they just don't like the pressure of playing at Madison Square Garden. And you tie that in with Boston being the best road team. I really hope that tomorrow is a close game and the Knicks, make it, perform their best game and shut everybody up, especially those cocky Bostonians and, all the shade the Knicks are getting. I mean, I think the Knicks have been a fabulous story this season,
Here,
for all
here
the
I,
Cinderella vibes that Detroit's getting. The Knicks have ways that they can improve. Boston are looking to shed salary and trade pieces,
oh
whereas
yeah.
the Knicks are on an upward trajectory and they have, locked in pieces, stability, and we'll talk about the offseason another time, but they have a chance to really do something special. We just hope that they give their effort and perform at MSG. But if they don't, game 5 will be backs to the wall. It'll be Jalen Brunson going into that dark space that
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mazzulla talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You got to
Mm-hmm.
channel that darkness, and they focus for whatever reason. And I use the analogy silk sheets, Bill, as a famous boxer once coined the phrase that you got to get out from the silk sheets, of their home line.
I'll take it to a totally different level. The Knicks have to steal a win at home. Just like they stole 2 in Boston, now they got to steal one on their court. Strange as it sounds, but that's what it's like. And if the Knicks can steal that 3rd win, now it is a real interesting series because you're one swing away from dethroning the champion. And by the way,
Yeah,
NBA champions, I think the last 4 or 5, none of them have made it out of the 2nd round.
I've seen that. And with the law of averages probability, Bill, have the Knicks played a good game yet?
No, not a full total game. Everybody's talking about Brunson's got a 40 in him. Where's it at? By the way, Indiana with that 2-1 lead against Cleveland. They've got a nice fat lead coming up into halftime. Wow.
Wow, let me check that right now.
And
You're saying
everybody's healthy.
who's got the lead?
They've doubled them up in the second quarter.
Wow.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Indiana looking to punch back. Is Garland, Spider, and all playing?
We can talk
Yeah.
Boston and Cleveland and OKC all you want. That Indiana team is dangerous. They are deeper than most of the teams that are in this tournament. They are deeper than most of the teams that are in this tournament.
They're very deep. I've been saying it. I think they have built their roster perfect for that market. A smaller market, not an extravagant payroll in terms of two stars eating up a lot of the cap. Obviously, they hit on a few draft picks. That's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Houston Rockets, who I think will inevitably get some chances. You mentioned the Knicks stealing one at home. How do you see the Knicks' pathway to getting a win? Like, what's the most likely outcome? What adjustment do you feel like the Knicks need to do? The Hacker Mitch situation. A lot of people are saying start Mitchell Robinson now so that he's not in the bonus, and you force Joe Mazzulla to say, "Hey, you want to put us in the bonus early?
Mm-hmm.
Fine."
I like him and Cat playing together. I really do. I'm all about bigs. That's just who I am, where I come from. I am all about bigs. And if you can have those two in the game at the same time and make it work for you, I think that would be great. And what would make it work even better is not if you rely on Boston to miss the three, but if you chase them off the 3-point line. If you chase them into your defense, into your defensive strength, as we saw with Tatum at the end of game 2. Mitchell Robinson did that very small thing of forcing him to go left. That's where the help was. Jason Tatum was trying to get a shot off against the 3 best defenders on the Knicks. He was surrounded by Robinson, he was surrounded by OG, and he was surrounded by Bridges, who ultimately just took the ball away. If you can create that, more and more, and how do you do that? You run them off the 3-point line. If they can do that, some consistency in game 4, the Knicks could very well steal one at home. That's my formula for them to win.
Yeah. I was actually listening to Bill Simmons' pod live just before we came on. From a Boston perspective, he's feeling a little worried because he feels like the Knicks could beat them up on the glass. He feels like there's a game where that's the pathway for the Knicks. And you mentioned the bigs. If they miss, you get the rebound. How did we come back from 20 points?
Mm-hmm.
Was getting pushing the break, getting some transition threes.
That's
See,
Josh Hart.
Boston's not giving us anything in the half court.
No.
OG's got a straight jacket on. He can't shake loose, and he doesn't have a dribble that can take somebody to the rack. Brunson, he'll wear down, trying to put up all the shots. I think Bridges we need to see some explosion from Bridges again. We need to see, Mitchell Robinson find a way to keep him out there and eliminate this Hacker situation. Or pray to the heavens. He's been working on his free throws for the last 48 hours, and he can split.
He hasn't. No, not like that. I mean, how do you miss everything from 15 feet? There's nobody defending you. Nobody haranguing you. It's just
all mental.
You and the rim. That's all it is. Just hit the rim, man. If you do that, good things will happen.
Why not use the backboard?
You could.
Why not? He was shooting 50, 60% in the first stretch of the season when he got back. I think it's all mental now, Bill.
It is.
Joe Mazzulla is in his head.
It is, and you really can't work things out at this point in the conflict. You can't. You have what you have, and that's what you go to battle with. I mean, I get his frustration with it. I get the pressure that, as you said, when Missoula hacks, it's in his head now, they're sending me to the line. I got to make these points, and I get all that. But right now, and it's a phrase that I hate, it is what it is. But I promise you, if you chase them off of the 3-point line, talking about Boston, if you chase them off of that line, you got a chance to win. Not
It's
not relying on them
yeah,
having bad shooting nights. When
true.
you chase them off the line, you're chasing them out of what they like to do.
That's 100%. It is a little trickier with two bigs. However, if assuming you switch and one big is guarding him, you run him off, and then there's another big that can be near the paint. And I really feel like with Kristaps not 100%, Luke Cornett is kind of a hit or miss. That's the department where the Knicks need to dominate the series.
Because I mean,
You know,
after
they
that, it's Al Horford.
yeah, they might not dominate in the wings or the guards. That's a tough ask. Um, But the Knicks need to get some threes up for themselves, Bill. Their offense is a slog as well. And I mentioned the pace. I mean, the first possession, I knew when Brunson was just waiting, looking around, then just turned it over. And the very first possession,
Yeah,
I didn't have a very good feeling,
not a
because
good
I've
start.
seen that all season.
And again, you're not playing the Washingtons of the league. You're playing the creme de la creme. Now you're playing for that trophy. Now you're playing for the Larry O'Brien trophy. And now is when whatever you got, the absolute best you have, and then some, has to come out.
Yeah, a cat, as AP mentions, salute to the chat. Great to have you with us, Bill Daughtry, the legend, joining us tonight, talking about the Knicks' second round playoff series. We'll get Bill's thoughts on the series, how it's going to end up. I know you might not be into predictions, but we'll see what happens. I think Cat is dealing with a broken finger, but he said that he's going to fight through it. So I don't. Cat's not going to sit out. You're not going to be able to keep him out. It's his
Not
left
now.
hand.
Not
It's his.
now.
It's his. Yeah.
It's non-shooting hand. Come on. Uh-uh.
Yep.
If you
Yeah.
can stand up, you're playing. You know.
Especially with Thibodeau.
Oh, please. And that's another thing that you have to factor into this. The Knicks aren't a very deep team. There's a lot of tread off that tire, as we saw last year in Indiana. I mean, when Josh Hart went down, he was like the last healthy soldier you had. And once he went down, it crumbled very quickly. So, I mean, again, the Celtics are on a crusade for a second straight championship. The Knicks are trying to get closer to becoming a championship team. They still need pieces. There's still things that they need to do to fortify and become better, even within the culture and the style that they like to play. They have to get better at both of those things. Tom Thibodeau did not find a bench this year. I mean, he'll use campaign in some limited spots. If Cam comes out, hits his first 3 shots, okay, great. Giving us the lift, now sit down. He's not a guy you want out there at the end of the game when it's on the line.
Should Shamit get some burn?
I've always been a Landry Shamet guy, but again, do you trust him? What role do you see him in? I mean,
Uh,
he's long enough to be an adequate defender,
yeah.
but that's Bridges' job.
Well, you can try to match up with Peyton Pritchard, because Deuce has been getting hurt last game. I think Deuce was winning that matchup after game 1 and 2. That
Mm-hmm.
that swung when Peyton Pritchard. That was Joe Mazzulla's best adjustment,
Mm-hmm.
and I've agreed with some of the Celtics media talking about they played Pritchard a lot more, and his 3-point gravity really hurt the Knicks. So you got to keep him in check.
Yeah,
And if Deuce can't, he's
if
he's a
I,
pit
if
bull.
I if I'm not mistaken, did Pritchard have like 13 points in the first quarter in game 3? Something like
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
he lit us up, and he's an excellent close to the quarter. He's always great at the final possession
Hmm.
bucket, and he got that one. He got separation, and he hit a baseline jumper to end the quarter, and that gave them a 16-point lead, to end the first. So I think they are going to try to spam him, but that's the only way I would get Shamit out there. But my key adjustment would be, to limit Hart's minutes to start. Try to get Mitch into the game earlier,
Hmm.
disrupt their 3-point vibe,
Hmm.
and avoid the hacker Mitchy situation. Maybe have Towns close the quarters more.
Well, what stops Towns from closing most quarters is he's always in foul trouble. I mean, every quarter, there's that one foul that he can do without that he always commits. That's why when you get late in the fourth quarter, he's got 4 or 5,
He's
and they're
getting a
not.
rough whistle though.
Well, it's part of it is reputation. He's a guy that will always commit that dumb, unnecessary, useless foul. He does it. That's what he is. That's who he is. I've come to understand that. I come to respect that. That's who he is. You will never, ever, 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 ever hear me say anything negative about Karl Anthony Towns' offensive ability. I might say something every now and then about his shot selection. I might say something every now and then about how he chooses to attack, but he is a gifted offensive player. Jalen Brunson is 1A and Karl Anthony Towns is 1B. Gifted. And Knicks would be nowhere without either one of them for any stretch of time. That's over the schedule, that's over the course of a game. They are the most valuable 2 assets the Knicks have. Everybody else is playing a role.
Yeah, you've just got to adjust, in my opinion, if you're Tibbs, to their weakness. Every team has a weakness. It just doesn't matter whether it's a really big weakness or not. But you've played this team 8 times now. Find something where you can get an advantage and try that.
I've
Um,
given you the key to the city. You got to force them off the 3-point line. That's how you're going to beat the Boston Celtics. You got to force them off the 3-point line because you're forcing them into something that they don't like to do.
yeah, or muddy it up, scrap, be physical. Make sure the game is within single digits heading into the fourth quarter, and let the
Yep.
pressure, because Boston's weakness is mentally. I think they wilt under pressure.
They will
And
get down. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
if you can
I
get a
agree.
crazy Madison Square Garden crowd, let's say it's single digits, Bill, heading into the 10th minute, maybe a favorable whistle goes your way, a charge call, and it's back down to 7. The crowd's going insane. That's it.
You
Boston.
you saw Boston's mental makeup in those 2 close games at Boston Garden. You saw them visibly sag, visibly, we're not going to be able to get this done. How can we stop this? You saw that. That was their body
Yeah,
language.
and yeah, as much as I respect Tatum, I understand why, Kerr benched him in the Olympics. Obviously there was all the talent ahead of him, but to close games out, he's questionable. He likes to just take the easy shot, um, pulls up, and with Mitch out there, we saw that final possession. How beautiful was that final possession to close game 2?
You know, we used to have a name for players like Tatum, but he has shown that he is more than just a pretty boy. He has done some things in this league. He has made some tough shots in this league, but I don't think there's anyone who will argue that the emotional heart and soul of the Boston Celtics is Jaylen Brown. The emotional heart and soul. You heard him in the huddle going into game 3. Where my dogs?
Yeah,
Where my
he
dogs at?
5 kids. He's got 5 kids. I heard that, but The thing is, I don't like the cockiness. I really, maybe it's just me, and they earned their tag to be favorites and all of that. I just don't really like the way they don't respect the opponents. I think it's just a mirror of their coach. They feel like we're just going to come in, shoot threes, and run you out, and I get it.
Do you get HBO Max over there?
I can with a VPN.
Get it, and I'm telling you to watch Celtics City, and you will get a true feel for what fuels this team. And trust me when I tell you, history is a huge part of it. Huge. There is a line of succession with that franchise. As much as I detest them, as much as I dislike them, as much as I want to see them lose and lose badly, there's a thread that runs through that franchise, through the history of the franchise, not the city, the franchise. One of the most interesting things that I learned in watching Celtic City, Red Auerbach, when the city of Boston treated Bill Russell so badly for a number of years, he had Boston removed from their jerseys. You go back and you look at the old Celtic video, they're always wearing Celtics. I want to say this is around 62, 63. Red said, no, we don't play for this city anymore because of the racial shenanigans, the segregation that still exists there, and what they were doing to Russell, their best player. He said, we don't play for this city anymore. We play for this franchise. And that's something that has stayed with them through the years. They play for themselves. They play for the other guys in that room. That's family. It's not so much the city. I don't care how crazy TD Garden gets. Celtics ain't playing for them. They're playing for each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, I get it, definitely. But a lot of the arrogance comes from their fans as well. I get it. They've been relevant, successful, but here we are. Before we wrap up, great question from AP. He wants to know your thoughts on Mikal Bridges.
I like them. I like him. I don't think the Knicks gave up too much for him. Again, you won 2 playoff games because of him. 2 games where Boston had a chance to either tie or win, and both times Bridges snuffed him out. And oh, by the way, in game 2, he scored all 14 of his points in the fourth quarter in a game that you won by 1 point. That's what you make that trade
Yeah,
for.
it was when we look back on this season, that will assuming we don't advance and beat Boston, that'll be the shining light on Mikal Bridges for the season. Um, but we just haven't seen it enough, I think, for fans liking Bill. We know what he's capable of and that he can do that. But maybe it took the playoffs to sort of bring that out in him. Maybe some more dog. Remember in our preview of the season, you said the Knicks have technicians. You said it stuck with me all season when
Mm,
I was hearing your voice talking about heart is the heart and soul of the team.
mhm,
OG is a technician. The
mhm.
Knicks don't have enough muscle. Is that still the case?
Um, I think OG has turned into that guy now. He does not mind doing the dirty work. Hart has always been about it. Mitchell Robinson doesn't back down from it. So, from a toughness standpoint, I think they're there. But what hamstrings the Knicks, and we've talked about it many times over the years, Thibodeau's only going to play 7, 8
Mm,
guys.
their bench.
And that's fine in the postseason. But when you're doing that in the regular season, you guys ain't got much left for the most important part of the season. It's the most important time. Just think of it. If the Knicks can get by Boston, they got 2 more rounds to go. It's a grind.
I've been thinking about that. I'm like, look, we get past this, and what if we lost to the Pacers again because we ran out of gas? But
I'm telling you, because the Pacers are a deep team. They are a deep team, and
mm,
the thing that people may overlook about the Pacers, yeah, they're young, but this is the third straight year that they're going through this. And every year they just get a little bit more. And Rick Carlisle's a damn good coach. All they
yeah, I
need is
mean,
help. All they
the
need is
Knicks,
help.
the Knicks still have a much higher ceiling, in my opinion. But obviously, styles make fights, and it's one of their strengths versus one of our weaknesses.
Now
And I
let me
think
let me
top,
let me let me ask you a question. You think the Knicks have a much higher ceiling as presently made up? Because I think the Knicks have more star players, but I think the Indiana Pacers have more players.
yeah, and I agree. When the Knicks have a higher ceiling, I think to win a championship, I don't think the Pacers can get it done. But I think the Knicks need to add some depth. But their star players are good enough. They can raise the ceiling with Brunson, Carl Anthony Towns, OG, Bridges, and whether Hart moves back to the bench or not, and whatever happens with Mitch, I feel like the Knicks can raise their ceiling. But Indiana might have to sell some pieces. Obi, there's rumblings that he might get traded. They might have to, sign one of their rookies to a major extension. Nemhard's really going to get paid, or Matherin. But right now, yeah, Indiana is dangerous.
Yeah, the team that's on my television right now, I would not at all be surprised if they met the Knicks in the next round. I'd be surprised if Indiana won. They're a deeper team. They are a deeper team. They've climbed that mountain already. They know they can beat the New York Knicks. Did it
Yeah.
last year.
One thing I would push back a little bit though, I feel like they have a softer underbelly with Miles Turner, Halliburton, Josh Hart, and that did cause some problems. The Knicks grit could, could make it uncomfortable, but they've got shot makers.
I think Halliburton, people called him most overrated. I think they badly underestimated him. And he's showing that against Cleveland now. And throw in the fact that his old man did something that was embarrassing. Halliburton's not the guy that I want to. I don't want to poke that bear either. I just don't, because
Yeah,
he's that good.
we got some people in the chat disagreeing with me, and I respect that. The Pacers do have they have a high ceiling. I just think the Knicks' top end talent. Look, let me answer this question: if the Knicks were healthy, who would have won Game 7? Like the Knicks would have beaten Indiana last season if we were healthy. OG did not have a hamstring left. Mitchell Robinson wasn't even playing.
Yeah,
Josh Hart tore his abdominal.
yeah.
You know, I mean, Miles Turner is suspect.
And
The player,
Brunson was gimping around on a bad ankle, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
But then Brunson ultimately broke his hand, and that's when the lights really went out.
Bojan Bogdanovic, remember that guy? We forgot about him as the
Mm.
sixth man. He broke his Lisfranc in the first round.
Right, right, against Philly.
Yeah, he hit some big time three. I mean, my God, the Knicks would love to have a Bojan Bogdanovic coming off their bench right now. That's what we missed when we traded for Cat. You gave up a 2-for-1. And by the way, shout out for Julius Randle. You know,
Yeah.
who would have thought? Who would have thought the Dante trade would now become the Julius trade?
Bonehead is killing him right now. He's he's bailing Anthony Edwards out in a big way. Last night he was spectacular. He was outstanding. And to me, Anthony Edwards still hasn't announced to the world, I'm here. He did a couple of times in the Lakers series. But in this series, not exactly. And Julius Randle's been the reason why they've been creating mayhem.
Yeah, he's really matured, and I feel like he's thriving because he's bought into the Robin. role. He's clearly the Robin.
Hmm.
With New York, Randall always, he wouldn't say it out aloud, and I know this speaking to people, he always looked at himself like he's that man
Yeah, he was the
in New
guy.
York.
He was the guy
Yeah,
here. Yeah,
he got here before Brunson did.
right,
He
right.
wanted to
And
carry this franchise forward, and then Jalen arrived, and yeah, they worked well with each other, and there was respect. But Randall wanted to be Batman. Now, when you're in Minnesota, you have to accept the Robin role, and he had no choice. And now he's thriving.
and can play pretty much the way he wants to. He can play a style that is most comfortable to him. He can be that
Oh,
physical guy. He can be their enforcer, so to speak.
killed the Lakers like he always does.
And he can score the basketball.
Definitely. Well, it's always great, man, and I hate when we have to end the stream, but let's wrap this thing up. Hopefully, we can talk heading into an Eastern Conference Finals.
Good luck with
Look, my heart is saying, Bill, that this series is a long way to go, guys. I know people are talking up, they're talking down, they're looking at numbers. Like, there's only 3 games down, and this series could have 4 more games. Quite quite easily. The Knicks only need to win one more of the next 3 to force a game 7, and crazy things that happen. So I'm going to predict there will be a game 7 at TD Garden. I'm going to predict we see a game 7 for all the marbles.
as long as nobody pulls a hamstring in game 7, Knicks got a chance. If they get it to that point. They've won
I'd
there
love to see.
before and they feel comfortable
Yeah,
there. So
I'd love to see the betting line. Imagine if the one game that the Knicks get is at TD Garden as well. That'll make game 7's line betting, because the Knicks would have won 3 games at TD
I was going to
Garden.
say they've got to win 3 times on the champion's home court. Wow, that's a heavy lift, but we'll see. That's why they play the games.
AP says Adam Silver. We'll see to that.
Don't give Adam Silver too much credit.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll talk to you very soon. Post game live tomorrow night. Join us. Glad that it's finally back to prime time. That's the way I love to watch the Knicks. The energy in the Garden. Hopefully Stephen A is not in the building, because
I
he
don't think he
seems to.
will be. I think he's stuck in LA right now
Hmm,
doing the tip off show
okay, that's good. I
with
feel like every
Malika
time,
and Perk in the crew.
whenever he's hyped things up and he's in the Garden, we see it a letdown.
Yeah,
Um,
and see, he called out Spike Lee
oh,
in the first round. Where were you at the Met Gala? Stop it, Stephen A. Stop.
yeah, as we wrap up, 80-39. Looks like Indiana are going to go 3-1 up. Headed back to Cleveland, though. We'll see. But credit to
Well,
Indiana. Yeah.
I'm pulling from a man in Cleveland, so see what happens.
Benji's in the building. Salute Benji. Can't wait to be in your seats in 21 hours. Yep.
21
You make
hours.
sure. You make sure, Benji, that crowd is not leaving anything behind. And I know.
Benji, you better suit up, shoot that jumper.
Peace, everyone.